Kids are using the internet more and more for school, for games, to chat to friends. How do we make sure it's safe? Brett Lee was a Queensland police officer for 22 years, and most of that was as a detective in the field of child exploitation. He now trains police, teachers, parents and children about internet safety and cyberbullying. Brett Lee, what do we need to tell children and teenagers about using the internet?
Look, it's now become a very big ingrained part of our society, and as we've heard earlier, the kids are getting on younger and younger. So, look, a lot of the schools I go to, I start speaking to kids from year 3 up and right through to year 12, because our input as a responsible adult needs to be ongoing. So, look, I've been doing this for 8 years, and I can probably say that really the core group of messages that we were passing on to young people 8 years ago are still basically the same, because it's not about the technology, it's about protecting the children. And when I talk to parents, I think it's important that they're empowered to know that they probably possess most of the skills they already need to ensure they can create that safe environment within their home. It comes back to, what we have in every other aspect of our life. We talk to our kids, we guide them, we give them boundaries, there's rules. We give them some strategies if something does happen. So it's never going to be the case that a parent can look over a child's shoulder 24 hours a day, particularly when they leave the house. But they can arm them with the skills, give them reasons to make good choices, let them know where they stand. And you know what I say to parents? I say, look, it may be as simple as this. The very first time that your child uses a device and they put their face behind that screen, you could say to them, look, if anything happens that makes you feel uncomfortable, you don't like, you feel threatened, you feel scared, I want you to get off the internet and I want you to talk to me about it. Now, if kids don't hear that from parents, carers and teachers, they're not going to hear it from anybody. And they may not just automatically assume that is an option. So look, I think parents can have an incredible influence in a young person's life, and because kids are getting on younger now, not only at school but at home, it gives us a really good opportunity to put some of these mindsets in place.
Brett Lee, what are the good rules to set around using the internet then?
Well, look, the first one would be that I have no right to use any particular program. My parent has a right to, and a parent knows they have a right to ask their child any question they want about technology. There's this perceived right to privacy on the internet that's not based on fact. So a parent needs to know what devices are being used in the house. They need to know what programs their kids are using and who they're connected to. There needs to be firm time limits put in place, particularly when it comes to some of these online games that have some very clever hooks built into them that will suck kids into games, whereby they find it hard to make the right informed decision to get off the game. That can create issues within the family. So what my advice would be is to put those time limits in place, let kids know what websites are and aren't acceptable, tell them that they are expected to talk to their parents if they have a problem or an issue. The parent controls the technology in the home. And look, we have a website that's got free resources for parents, and there's an example of a contract that a parent can have in the home with their child so they know what the rules are. Each family will be different. Now, when it comes to, one of the rules that we always used to love, and everybody agreed on it, and I think it was mentioned by the lady from Bravehearts, is that keep technology out of the bedroom.
Yeah, so can you still do that?
Absolutely. We do it. My friend, we've got friends who do it. We can't let technology make the decisions. Just because you can pick up a phone and walk into your bedroom with it does not mean that if it's one of the rules in the house that you can't, you just don't do it. As our kids grow, I've got older teenagers. We're flexible with the rules, and the rules can change, particularly when they've shown that they can be trusted. And so what we do, that has changed now, whereby in certain circumstances they can have technology in the bedroom, but at bedtime it's gone. And there's rules like you have to have the door open when you're in there with technology that allows you to connect to the internet. So I think people feel very disempowered and they think, well, my child can go into the bedroom with technology. And there's parents who don't want that to happen, but they feel that they can't do it. And they're feeling they're uncomfortable in their own home. I say to a parent, if you want to put a rule in place, don't let technology make the decision for you. You can do it. With young people, they want to use the internet mainly to have fun, connect with their friends and entertain themselves.
And Brett Lee, when you talk to children at schools, you train or talk to grades 3 through to 12, what do you tell them about the risks online?
Look, I always start by telling young people that they deserve to know the truth. They deserve to know the world that they're in. Like when my kids were growing up, I didn't say to them, if you walk into school and a man pulls up in a car, it's okay to get in the car because everyone in the world's a nice person. So I say to kids, you deserve to know the truth. Now, I pretended to be a teenager and a child on the internet for 5 years as a detective. So I know what it's like to be a young person online. And I say to the kids, I can tell you what you need to know to make sure you have a good online experience. It's important not to, in the eyes of the children, turn the internet into an evil, because most people and most content online is good. So we want to acknowledge that kids have to be part of that world. I say to them, look, I'm not here to stop you using technology. I'm here to help you by making you aware of the dangers and the responsibilities I was made aware of. And what's really helpful for young people, because the internet can be very hard to conceptualise because it all occurs in our minds. There's no social indicators to grasp onto to make decisions. So what's good for a parent as well is I use real-world analogies and I apply it to technology. Like if a stranger walked up to you in the street and asked you for your address, your name, your date of birth, a photograph, what would your reaction be? And their reaction would be that I'd go, well, who are you? I've never met you before. Why are you asking me for this? And then get them to relate that to the internet. Is it normal for strangers online, for no reason at all, to want to find out all about us, our friends, our family? So, and you see, parents can do that.
And so, Brett Lee, other students that you speak to, are they aware that online people can take on false identities, that they're not necessarily going to be who they say they are?
Absolutely. And look, one of the ways, it is difficult because as human beings, we're set up that seeing is believing. And as soon as we see it, our mind tries to convince us it's real. And that's why online child sex offenders can be very effective, targeting, their innocence and their lack of life skills becomes their Achilles heel. So the way I do that is I say to them, look, I've arrested 90 adult men from the Brisbane region who are using the internet trying to commit offences against children. And I said, when those 90 men were sitting in my police station, every single one of them believed that they were talking to a teenager. And that occurred just because I told them I was a teenager. So what we want to do is get kids to start thinking about this now, considering it, and not those men, that was the first time they considered that maybe the person I was talking to isn't that person. So when we get the kids thinking about this now, as they grow, they're going to, hopefully their mindset is set where they can understand that this is just information on the screen. I've got to trust my instincts. I've got to trust on what I know is normal in our community. And really, that's the only way around it, because they're the ones making the choices.
And Brett Lee, just finally, what do parents do if they think, or kids, indeed kids, what do they do if they think they're being targeted and deceived in this way?
Look, there is a lot of inappropriate activity on the internet, and every case and every instance will be different. A lot of times young people can block, they can delete, they can get out of websites, and we empower them to do that. But if it is an issue whereby, they are suffering stress, anxiety, they're fearful of what's happening online, maybe they've made a mistake and they've decided they shouldn't have done that, what are they going to do now? The biggest weapon that parents have when it comes to protecting their kids online is communication. Teaching kids to communicate with trusted people from their physical world when something happens on the internet. So parents, they can obviously get legal advice in particular circumstances, whether it's civil or they could get advice from the police. The Australian government, the eSafety Commissioner's Office now, the website there, provides an avenue for parents to report inappropriate content and websites and accounts, but also to report cyberbullying. So the federal government's taken it upon themselves to start addressing these issues.
Brett Lee, thanks very much for taking us through that.
My pleasure.